What if the tug you feel in your quietest moments is more than a feeling? What if it's a divine invitation to awaken? There's a sacred stirring inside you, ancient, eternal, that has never stopped whispering. It speaks not in words, but in knowing, not in logic, but in spirit. It is the sense that the life you're living is not all there is, that what you've accepted as reality is only a sliver of what heaven meant for you. This isn't your imagination. It's your spirit brushing up against the edges of eternity, in those rare moments of stillness, between breaths, beneath thoughts. You can feel it, something larger, something holy, drawing you toward your true self. Some call it potential, some call it destiny, but in spiritual truth, it is your already existing self in divine alignment, waiting for you to return. Quantum physics tells us that every version of you exists in the quantum field, but Scripture echoes this mystery. Before I formed you, I knew you. That in Jeremiah 1:5. You are not becoming, you are remembering. The version of you that is whole, radiant, and walking in your sacred calling isn't far away. It is already here, vibrating in the field of divine possibility. But here's where most of us go astray. We try to think our way into change. We chase transformation with the mind. We use vision boards, mantras, even rituals. But the vibration doesn't shift, because the true shift isn't a mental exercise. It's a spiritual surrender. The quantum field, like the kingdom of heaven, responds not to what you want, but to who you are being. You don't ascend into the life you desire by climbing. You align by descending into truth, into the breath, into presence, into the part of you that has never been disconnected from divine source. So how do we reach that version of ourselves? Not through effort, but entanglement. Not by striving, but by resonating. Let's go deeper, because in the next part, we will uncover why you are not separate from your highest timeline. You are already woven into it. What if your highest reality is not a future you create, but a divine truth you return to? You are not separate from the life you long for. You are not disconnected from your highest calling. In the language of physics, you are already entangled with it, meaning you are invisibly linked to the version of you that walks in joy, wholeness, and divine purpose. And spiritually speaking, you were never apart from it to begin with. The psalmist writes, "All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." Psalm 139:16. Your timeline is not a mystery to heaven. It's already encoded in eternity. But entanglement isn't automatic access. Just because you're connected doesn't mean you're aligned. Here's where science and spirit meet. Bruce Lipton's research reveals that your biology is not bound by DNA. It's shaped by the environment you create within yourself. Joe Dispenza teaches that the quantum field doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you are being. In simpler words, your body, your cells, your atmosphere, they all listen to your spiritual broadcast. So if your thoughts say "I believe," but your nervous system is still bracing for disappointment, you collapse timelines that match fear, not faith. If you declare abundance, but you breathe in scarcity, you align with lack, not light. To live the reality you're entangled with, you must become its match in frequency and in faith. This means your transformation can't be superficial. It has to be cellular, emotional, embodied. It's not enough to know you're chosen. You must walk as if you're chosen. It's not enough to affirm you are healed. You must breathe, think, and move like someone who is whole. And no, this doesn't mean faking it. It means faithing it, remembering the truth of who you are, even when your senses still reflect the old. So how do you bridge the gap between who you've been and who you are becoming? The answer is not more doing. The answer is deeper being. In the next part, we'll enter the doorway of embodiment, where the shift begins not in theory, but in breath, in body, and in spirit. What if your breakthrough isn't waiting in the future, but waiting to be embodied right now, the moment you start being the version of yourself who already lives in truth? The quantum field rearranges around you. But embodiment isn't about pretending. It's about becoming, letting the divine blueprint already seeded within you take form in your thoughts, breath, and body. You are not trying to manifest something external. You are becoming someone eternal. The shift begins in the smallest of ways. When your breath slows instead of quickens in stress. When you speak gently instead of reacting. When you pause to remember your soul instead of defaulting to your story. These are not minor moments. These are quantum moves. Because the field is always listening. Your body is always responding. And the moment you change internally, your external reality starts adjusting to meet the vibration of your new identity. Embodiment is where spirit meets matter, and heaven makes its home in your daily life. When you decide to sit with your emotions instead of suppressing them, you create space for grace. When you choose stillness over panic, you build a temple for divine guidance to enter. When you walk by faith and not by sight, you vibrate on the same frequency as miracles. And no, this isn't easy. It takes devotion, not discipline. It requires reverence, not resistance. It demands that you slow down long enough to feel, to receive, and to align. Every sacred tradition speaks of embodiment. Jesus became flesh and dwelt among us, not as a symbol, but as a living invitation to walk in truth and light. You too are invited to embody divine consciousness, not just understand it. The shift you seek is not outside of you. It begins within your posture, your habits, your presence. Now that we've touched embodiment, the next step is integration. How do you carry the vibration forward? Through time, triggers, and transformation. That's where we go next. If you only feel aligned in meditation, but fall apart in Monday traffic, your shift hasn't rooted yet. Integration is where theory becomes lifestyle, where the sacred isn't just felt in prayer, but lived in pressure. Most people can touch higher states in stillness, on retreats, in silence, in moments of clarity. But what about when the kids are crying, the inbox is full, or the fear comes back unannounced? This is where the real practice begins, because integration is not about avoiding old triggers, it's about meeting them as a new self. The quantum shift becomes real when you respond differently, not because you're trying to fake peace, but because peace has become your frequency. This doesn't happen instantly. It takes repetition, remembering, and deep presence. Spiritual maturity is measured not by what you know, but by how you love, react, and remain rooted when tested. The Apostle Paul said, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Done, Romans 12:2. Renewing means returning again and again, even when it feels like nothing's changing. So how do we integrate? We practice sacred pause, a breath before the reaction. We bless our triggers, seeing them as teachers, not enemies. We anchor ourselves in truth, through morning prayer, scripture, or whatever grounds you daily. And we walk by spiritual rhythm, not emotional reaction. Integration looks like making love your default. Not perfection, but presence. Not performance, but surrender. You won't always get it right, but every conscious choice carves a new groove in your brain, a new timeline in your field, and a new opening in your soul. Now that you're learning to walk this out, how do you stay in it? Not just for moments, but for a lifetime. In the next part, we'll explore sustainability, how to live a quantum-aligned life in an unpredictable world. Anyone can shift for a moment. The question is, can you sustain it through the storms? The quantum field doesn't need you to be perfect, but it does require you to be consistent. Sustainability is the art of spiritual endurance. It's what keeps your frequency steady when life gets chaotic, when doubt creeps in, when your old habits come knocking. Because your old self won't disappear quietly. It will try to return with urgency, cloaked in comfort. But hear this, just because something feels familiar doesn't mean it's faithful. And just because it's old doesn't mean it's ordained. You were never meant to cycle through the same pain on repeat. You were designed to ascend, from glory to glory, from frequency to frequency. Sustainability means building spiritual structure to support your energetic upgrades. This isn't about hustle or hyper-focus. It's about rhythm, rest, reconnection. Here's what helps. Rituals over resolutions, sacred patterns that remind your body of truth. Community over isolation, surrounding yourself with voices that reflect your becoming. Devotion over discipline, because love sustains longer than fear ever could. Reflection over reaction, choosing to observe rather than obey your emotion. The enemy of sustainability is not chaos. It's forgetfulness. The moment you forget who you are, you slip back into the version you worked so hard to grow beyond. So wake up with remembrance. Walk in reverence. Speak with resonance. And when it gets hard, because it will, don't ask, why is this happening again? Instead ask, how can I show up as the healed me in this? But there's still one sacred step left. What do you do when the shift is so big, so bold, that your old world can't hold you anymore? In the final part, we step into the divine leap, the quantum jump. Hook. The moment you stop trying to arrive and choose to become, the leap happens. A quantum jump isn't something you chase. It's something you remember. It's not a trick. It's a divine transition. When you finally stop rehearsing your limitations and start embodying your liberation. The quantum jump is not just about new results. It's about new identity, new resonance, new embodiment. The leap is spiritual. It's vibrational. And most of all, it's inevitable. When you stop negotiating with the version of you that was never aligned with your destiny, because your highest timeline isn't in the distance, it's in obedience. Obedience to your intuition, obedience to truth over fear, obedience to letting go of everything you know you've outgrown. You don't make the leap by proving you're ready. You make it by surrendering to the knowing that you already are. That version of you, radiant, healed, fearless, isn't waiting in the future. It exists now, in this moment, in this breath. And all it asks is that you say yes. Yes to the frequency. Yes to the faith. Yes to the fire of your becoming. So if your old story feels tight, let it burst. If your comfort zone feels, well, like a cage, unlock it. If your reality feels like it's repeating, break the loop. Because the leap won't happen with your eyes open wide in fear. It happens when your heart opens wide in surrender. You are not here to tiptoe into transformation. You are here to leap, boldly, wildly, obediently. So step, not because you've mapped it all out, but because heaven has already made the way. Welcome to the shift. Welcome to the leap. Welcome to your highest reality.